Hi, this is Carlo with 4GQ TV, and I'm here with a very special guest. I'll get into it in just a moment. My co-host Paul is on the panel with us as well. We're just three Italian guys hanging out. We got a very special guest, Chicky Cecchetelli. I hope I said that correctly.
Absolutely.
It's an honor to be able to speak to you, my friend. Um, I've seen some of your interviews, seen some of your stories. You're one of the real guys out there that live through things, and you speak from the hip, man. You just tell the truth, tell the facts, and I love the way that you tell your stories, Chicky.
Thank you. Thank you. And gentlemen, thank you both for having me. I'm humbled. And yeah, I'm just telling my stupid little stories. And, I just say how it was since I was a kid and up to several years ago. And we can get into where you want to go, but change is possible. Change is possible. And like I said on some of my other shows, people always want to, like you can change without being, you can change without becoming an informant. You can change, without waiting to go do 30 years in prison. Change is possible, and that's pretty much my message. Especially in this day and age. I mean, as we know it, that crazy life is over. Anybody telling you different is just fooling themselves. And yeah, and that's pretty much where I stand. And yeah, we can go wherever you want.
Awesome. Well, Chicky, the first question I always start out with is how did you get involved, or did you have mentors in the neighborhood, people you looked up to? Like, what was your kind of like in?
Okay, my personal story. I joined the military right out of high school, the end of 1985, and I joined the Navy. I went to Great Lakes, Illinois, for Navy boot camp, and then I had A school, which is like kind of a college after the boot camp, and I did very well. I was surprised by myself, but I did very well, and I got to pick a duty station. The top three guys in my military class got to pick. You picked three choices for duty station, and you were guaranteed one of them three. So I think I was number two. There was number one, number two, and I was number three. I mean, I was number two, and there was a guy behind me. We were the top three. I was number two. And just for the heck of it, I grew up in New England, Western Massachusetts, Springfield, Mass, right on Connecticut, right on the Connecticut River. I'm about 1 hour from Boston. I'm 20 minutes from Hartford, Connecticut, maybe 2 hours and 20 minutes from New York City. Providence, Rhode Island's about an hour. So we're pretty much centrally located. Albany, New York's an hour. We're kind of central. We're Western Massachusetts. And so I really never really went anywhere. So my father was a Marine. And when I joined, my father said, well, what do you want to do? I said, Dad, I really never traveled. He said, well, then you got to go in the Navy. He says, any other service, they're going to put you somewhere and you're going to be there your entire 4 years or whatever you choose. So I joined the Navy, and I picked a duty station of Honolulu, Pearl Harbor, Hawaii. That was my number one choice. I said, I'm going to put it, see what happens. And through the grace of God, I got it. So they let you go home. You have a little 30-day break. And then I met my ship, and I'm a 18-year-old kid, and I'm on a flight from Bradley International, Connecticut to San Francisco to Honolulu, and then Honolulu, I met my ship in Guam. My ship was out on a Westpac in the Indian Ocean. So I met my ship in Guam. And I mean, it was just a whole nother world. We traveled all over the world as an 18-year-old kid. I met the ship in Guam. We traveled to the Philippines, Subic Bay, Philippines. Crazy. I mean, I never in my wildest dreams saw the things I saw when we would pull in for a week or two. In the ports, Bangkok, Thailand, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Korea, China. They were all on the Westpac route. Singapore, Malaysia. I said Malaysia. Australia, Perth, Sydney, Melbourne. We went around the whole world as an 18, 19-year-old kid. So it was unbelievable. And I had it was roughly 1980, 89. I had about 6 months to go on my military. And I to be honest with you, looking back now, I would have reenlisted, and I got hurt. There was an accident on my ship, and I got hurt. So they took me off my ship, and I was in a hospital for a while. I was in. They had put me in the beginning at Alameda Naval Hospital in California, and then they flew me. I was there about a month, and then they flew me to Bethesda Naval Hospital, which, if anybody knows about military hospitals, it's where the president goes. It's right outside Washington, D.C. It's one of the biggest and best naval hospitals in the world, and I was there about a year. So at that time, I wasn't fully 100% retired. They were still going through the channels in court to retire me, because I was really messed up for a while. And so I would have to be there Monday through Friday. And then on Friday night, I would leave and I'd come home on an Amtrak, a 7-hour trip to Western Mass to spend the weekend with my family. I wasn't going to stay at the hospital by myself. They gave me like a little apartment there, just, on the hospital campus for almost a year. And so I go home on the weekend, and I hung around my whole life. I was around my whole life. I grew up in a town in a section of Springfield called East Springfield, Hungary Hill. Hungary Hill was the real tough Irish kids, and East Springfield was the Italians, mixture of Irish and Italian. So I grew up with a lot of tough kids, played sports my whole life. Believe it or not, I did. But, I was never great, but I played high school sports, and I played sports with all my friends. And so I had a lot of friends, and I got along with everybody. I was never a tough guy. I was always a gentleman. I made people laugh. I was more of a guy, we go out and laugh and just have a great time. But growing up, don't get me wrong. If anybody called me and said, hey, listen, Chicky, somebody abused my sister, or somebody talked down to my brother, I say, let's go. Let's go do what we got to do. Not to be a tough guy, but just it's your friend. You're going to help your friend. So roughly about 1989, I was just finishing up all my stuff at the military and getting ready to get retired, which they did retire me 100%, roughly around 1989, mid-1989. We knew there was a lot of gangsters in our area. Okay, growing up as a kid, I knew a lot of them allegedly, and I say allegedly a lot, so that's how I talk. But if you look in the newspaper, if you look at anything out there, they say Western Massachusetts is a hub of a satellite unit of the Genovese Crime Family out of New York. Now, this is what they say. It's all over the news. So there was organized crime guys, and I don't use the word, that mafia word, or that look closer. People like to throw that word around. I don't. I consider myself, I was just a young kid, a hustler. I got out of the military. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. I knew I was waiting for the retirement, so I knew I couldn't go get a full-time job. Plus, I was hurt. I couldn't work full-time. So when I was a kid, I knew one of the, in particular, gangster was murdered. His name was Adolfo Big Al Bruno, and he was a very prominent. If I had to compare him to somebody for our little area, he was like maybe like a John Gotti type of our area. Flashy, cigars, everybody respected him, loved him. He was for the neighborhood, took care of the neighborhood, made sure there was, against drugs, against drug selling. That's the way I compare him to on a small scale. And I knew him my whole life, and I used to work at my friend's fruit stand, and my friend's father had a big fruit stand, and all the organized crime guys would go in there on Sunday and get their fruit and their food for that Sunday afternoon dinner. And so 1989, he comes to a friend, one of my dear friends I grew up my whole life's father comes to me, and he comes up to me and he says, Bruno likes you. He thinks you're a good kid. You're smart. You were in the military, all this stuff. And he said a lot of people in his sports bookmaking office took pinches. All the older guys that were with him 10, 15, 20 years, all either went to jail or were on probation, so they couldn't really do their job. They had to take a break. So he said he wants to know if you would want to go in and take over the office, clean it out, stay on top, nobody's robbing them, and he's going to give you this much money a week under the table. So I said, yeah. Right now I don't know what I'm doing. I wasn't getting my military 100% compensation yet. So I said, okay, yeah, I'll do it for a while. And at that same time, he says to me and my two childhood friends that were also Italians that grew up, and their fathers were, one was involved, the other one was semi-involved. He says, listen, I got a pizza shop, a restaurant, a venue where bands play. It's on a lake with sand and real hot party spot that I own, that I got rid of the people that used to be there. Would you three guys go in there and run it? We'll be partners, you three and me. I'll give you the place. You order everything. I'll give you all the numbers for the beer, liquor companies, the food companies. I'll give you the New York. In New York, I'll give you all the acts, like the singing groups and stuff that come there. I said, yeah, we'll do it. So we ended up doing it one full summer. I mean, if we ran it right, we were 19, 20, 21-year-old kids. We didn't want to work. We wanted to party. And needless to say, we lasted one summer, and it was crazy, the things we were doing. I mean, it was packed. We used to have the bands and all that stuff. Now, at the time I'm doing that, I'm started working for him, taking sports bets. Okay. And the only reason, just to let you guys know, and your audiences, the only reason I'm talking about it now is because I was convicted of it and I went to jail for it. So it's not like, I'm saying this stuff. I was convicted of it. So I can go in, I'll go back and forth if you don't mind. But so I started working about 1989, and I lasted from 1989 to 2005 was my run. And so we had the venue and the pizza shop and the restaurant. We were doing that. And but like I said, if we would have ran it properly, it was $1 million opportunity. We could have been millionaires today and probably still been there. And but we didn't take it serious. We were young kids. We were worried about partying and having fun and girls and all the 20-year-old stuff that kids worry about. So we made it through a summer. We made a lot of money, but we were getting in trouble. We were fighting people at the place. There was, we didn't have bouncers. So if anybody got drunk drinking and started trouble, we would handle it. It was just crazy. So it got to the point where the police were there all the time, and it was a big headache. So we ended up only lasting maybe 7-8 months, and they had to close it. And he wasn't happy, but he knew he made a mistake. He said these guys were too young to handle this responsibility. So within this time after that closed, I still was working, running his office, making sure nobody passed posted. What that means is if a game starts at 1:00, you can't call me at 1:15 and try to put it in when there's already two touchdowns, stuff like that. You stay on top of the office, and we used to, back in the late 80s, 90s, we had the fax machine. You would get all the paperwork and then fax it to another location so somebody could check your work. So just like they didn't trust me, they didn't trust them. We all checked each other, just all to keep honest, because that's in that business, everybody stays on top of everybody, which is fine. With me, it was fine. So within the first 6-7 years, I took a couple pinches, but there were small pinches. It always starts off state pinches, like organized crime task force, state police, the local police at the city, whatever. So there was 3 or 4 pinches where you don't do nothing. 6 months, if you're clean, it goes away. It wasn't to the federal level. When the feds start coming in, then you got problems, and that's what happened to us in 2004. But so we were around these guys, and I was running the office, and what's unfortunate is when you get in trouble and you're in indictments with alleged organized crime guys, they always want to say, he's a associate of this family or that family. They like to throw these labels around, which is ridiculous. I mean, you're working in an office, cleaning out the office, and because you get in trouble, they throw that on your jacket, which it's ridiculous, but that's how they sell newspapers. That's how the news looks good, I guess. And so for a lot of years I was with him, and so everything was going good. Like I said, a few pinches here and there, but don't do nothing for a couple months and keep your nose clean. It goes away. Pay some fines, whatever. And what was tough was at the same time, we were in the bars. We would go to the organized crime guys that own bars. They owned a lot of the bars in our city and restaurants. And we would go in there, and just looking back now, I laugh, but it wasn't that funny. We thought who we were. We would start fights with people in their bar, and they would get mad. They would really get mad because first couple of times they put up with it, but then after that they were like, listen, you guys ain't going to embarrass us. You're not going to go in there and start a big war, and then cops are called and people are suing the bar. And I get it. As an older man now, I get it. But we were wise guys, so several times we had to have a sit down with the major guys, and they cracked us around. And one in particular time, I wasn't there, but they thought I was there, so we had another sit down, and the guys around me got it real good. And through the grace of God, I don't know how I survived it, but they were going to get me. They were ready to attack me, beat me up next. And I knew one of the organized crime guys. He was best friends with my uncle. And he stopped it. He goes, "No, don't hit this kid. This kid just drives them around." He was telling them, and they didn't hit me. And it was funny because all my friends were looking at me like, "Oh, you got away, you got out of it," you know. But it was funny because I didn't get out of it. I wasn't there, but I wasn't going to tell them guys. It wasn't me, you know. It is what it is, you know. So we had a lot of crazy times, a lot of crazy life, fighting and stuff like that. Getting arrested for assault and battery, a baseball bat, assault and battery, different things. So we were like little wise guys, you know, not literal wise guys, but like little wise guys in the sense where who we thought we were, which we were nobody, but we thought we were somebody. So we got in a lot of trouble. So they knew us from that kind of stance. And yeah, so and a lot of my friends that I grew up with since childhood became major figures in that life. Childhood friend of mine became a boss. He was a boss, and I just seen, it's sad, and it's sad looking back now, is that it's like, you're given your loyalty and your honor to certain people, and you were told your whole life, we get in trouble, we don't rat, we go to jail. That's how it is. If you don't want to do it, no problem. Quit the job and just go on and get a job somewhere else, a legitimate job. You come home and it's everything's peaceful. And I get it. But what bothered me, and I seen it over and over again, is the people that were the biggest broadcasters of this. We don't rat, we don't rat, we don't rat. We go to jail. When we got in trouble, or when they got in trouble for major things, they were the first ones that became informants. So that's why I'm telling you. And I know I haven't been really on the street since 2014, 15, but I know in 2024, in my opinion, and a lot of people agree with me, it's over. Now I understand New York is still big, but in my area, my specific Western Mass area, it's over, and that's unfortunate. But that's the way it is. As we know, the government is the real organized crime. It is what it is. Gambling was illegal. I went to jail for it. I went to a penitentiary in Pennsylvania, Weimar, Pennsylvania, USB Canaan. I was in MCC Manhattan in Southern District, New York, with heavy hitters. And I'm a bookmaker with no violence. And that's huge. When you have no violence, you can get caught 2-3 times for bookmaking, and you're only going to do a couple years, 2-3 years, maybe 4 tops. But when you add violence into the mix, you hit somebody, or you extort somebody, or somebody owes you money for gambling, and you do something to them physically, now you're in a whole nother league. Now you're going to get hit with 7, 8, 10, 12 years. So, and then as everything keeps snowballing and getting bigger and bigger, so our mentor for the kids I hung around with was, like I said, a guy named Adolfo Big Al Bruno. In 2003, November 23rd, 2003, he was down the Italian Social Club, our social club, playing cards. It was a regular Sunday night card game. He came out, and a kid came up to him from the shadows of the parking lot and ended up shooting him, I think 4 or 5 times, a couple times in the face, in the chest, and in the groin. And an icon like him that was around his whole life since coming from Italy was dead, got murdered right in the parking lot. And then the kid who I grew up with, my childhood friend at the time, becomes the boss. He takes over when Bruno gets murdered. And so he was the boss for probably, I'm going to say 3, maybe 5, 6 years, maybe. And he was going in and out of jail, for different things. So in 2004, we get indicted by the FBI, and it's myself. It's my childhood friend that I told you I grew up my whole life that takes over as the boss, and it was Al Bruno, the boss. But Al Bruno was murdered in November 2003. So in 2004, they call it an unindicted co-defendant, because he can't be indicted because he's dead. But he was on our paperwork. We were all in a case together, the 4 of us 3 and another kid. And so plead guilty. You get the best thing you can, whatever they give you, the best thing they can. Now, bookmaking with no violence, you're only going to do a year, 2 years, 3 years. You're not going to get a lot of time. So I ended up pleading guilty, and it was over it wasn't long. It was over a year in prison, in federal prison I took. And because all they could tie me to was just bookmaking, no violence. And I pleaded guilty to, I think it was at the time, I pleaded guilty to taking in $300,000. I think it was $300,000 or $400,000 a month, and I think the figure after a year or two was $3 million. I pleaded guilty to it, and so they gave me a fine. I had to pay, I think, $10,000 fine, which I paid. Nobody helped me, but it is what it is. And the lawyer you get knocked out for a good lawyer to fight a federal case, and I ended up going to United States Penitentiary, Canaan, way up in the mountains. There's wind towers everywhere. It's a heavy hitter joint. It's a big joint. And I was only there a few months, and then I ended up at the camp, which the camp's on the same property. It's just a little less. It's like barrack style, like the military. And I was used to the military. For the first few months, I was behind the wall in the cell, and I had a cellmate. We had bunk beds. But then when you go to the camp, it's still fenced in. It's on the same property. Guards, everything's the same. But you're in a like a boot camp setting, bunk beds, but there's no cells. But it's the same thing. If you try to escape or you don't listen to the rules, you're going right in the hole in the big place, just like, there. And I was at MCC Manhattan for a couple months too, which MCC Manhattan, there's notorious guys were there. John Gotti was there. Sammy the Bull was there. Not with me, but I'm saying they were there. All the top organized crime guys were at this MCC Manhattan. It's Metropolitan Correctional Center in Manhattan. And all the heavy hitters go there. It was a heavy hitter joint. And when I went there, I was only there a couple months for medical reasons. And I met notorious guys. I met and I always mention him on different podcasts I do because he really, really stood out to me. A guy named, and your people can look him up, a very well-known guy. He's in Florida now. He's in prison doing double life in Florida in Coleman. His name is Vincent Basciano, Vinny Gorgeous, they call him. What a gentleman. I mean, I met him, and I met all this is June of 2006. And I was with him, and I was with all the Albanians from the Bronx. They had Alex Rudai and all them guys. They indicted like 12 Albanians, and they were so powerful, according to the paper and according to YouTube, that I found out after. They called them the Sixth Family. That's how powerful they were. They ran the Bronx. They ran all of the Bronx area and Westchester, all them places. And they were serious guys. And I'm telling you, gentlemen. Vinny was a gentleman to me. Took me in, whatever you need, because, as you know, I don't know if you know, but with prison or jail, once you get in there, it takes you a couple of weeks to get your commissary and stuff because you got to go through the channels. And Vinny was great with me. Come on, he was in the I was on the bottom and he was on the top tier, right. I could look at him. He was right there, and he just was such a gentleman. He made such an impact on me because he was fighting 2 death penalty cases at the time. And he was such a gentleman. He'd get up in the morning, he'd do his workout. He'd all day be in the library doing his law stuff to fight his case. And he was just a guy facing 2 life sentences. He'd wake up every day with a smile. The guy was a gentleman. And he always stood out in my mind. And today, with all the social media, Instagram and various social media, I'm in contact with his family. And his sons are good kids. And I always reach out and say, hey, send your father my love. I hope he's doing good. And he's been in since 2004, so he's been in 20 years already. And it's just what a gentleman. But the higher level guys, they're gentlemen. They really are. They're gentlemen. And then of course, in every batch of apples, there's a couple bad apples. There's a lot of some scumbags you meet too. That you meet them one time, you're like, I don't want to see this guy no more. But the majority of them guys are really good guys. And you had brought up when we were talking privately, the Pizza Connection, and I was in Canaan with a lot of Pizza Connection guys that were doing 30 years. They've been locked up since like 88, 87, 89. That's when the Pizza Connection happened. And they were still in prison in 2006. I was with them, and they were finishing up their bids. One guy got 35 years. Another guy got 30 years, and they were just finishing up their sentences, and they were gentlemen, older, but they were all from Brooklyn Pizza. They all had come over from Sicily. A lot of them were Italian descent. They all came from Sicily. And of course, when they were getting out, they were already playing and they couldn't go back to New York. They were going to deport them, But, and like I said, I'd say this on other shows. The message I'm coming is, we all have our crazy. This is my little crazy story I'm telling. Some people think it's interesting. I'm just telling my story. But, and like I told you before, change is possible. You can change. You don't have to wait till you're facing 30 years in prison. You do not have to change when you have to become an informant, or you do become an informant. As we know, YouTube is filled with informants with their own shows, and a lot of them do very good. Michael Francis, he's an informant. got a great show, ton of subs. Sammy the Bull, we all know his story. 19 murders, 5 years in prison. I mean, it's a joke. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
like I heard a friend of mine in another podcast said, drunk drivers get more than 5 years. 19 murders, comes out of prison, and what does he do? He goes and sells ecstasy with his son, goes back for 20 more. So my message is you don't have to wait until you informant, or you don't have to wait, because a lot of them guys, don't get me wrong, some of them informants that get out, they make deals or whatever, some do change. There are a few that change and they go on and they're with their kids and family and they move away and you don't see them again and they do the right thing. But the majority of them on YouTube, the informants that have their own shows, they don't change. They're on YouTube, they're selling baseball bats, they're telling you stories. I killed 16 people. 2 days later, the show, they killed 4, they killed 2. How many did you kill? Did you kill 2 or 16? You don't remember? And it's just monotonous. They think they're like Hollywood stars, and what I don't get, and maybe I'm just naive, is that the majority of the people they have in their chat and the majority of the people that are watching them and subbing to them, they love them. Oh, you're doing a great job. Oh, you're so handsome. They say crazy things. I read some of these comments sometimes and I'm like, are you kidding me? The guy wiped out his whole crew. Now he chose that life. I'm not saying somebody forced him into it. If you choose that life and you're gone ho, and not only that, but if you take that alleged oath that you swear loyalty and you cut yourself and whatever they do to thank God I never did that. I'm blessed. At one time, did I want that? Absolutely. But as things turned out, I'm glad it never happened, because then it would have been a whole nother ball game. So what the point I'm making is, what you're doing when you get involved in that. So you got to know that, I'm going to make a lot of money. I'm going to have a lot of respect, and I'm going to do a lot of things that regular people can't do. But if I got to go to jail, I got to go to jail. That's the flip side of it. And you can't, and that's why I'm just living a peaceful life now, because I've seen it. The toughest guys in the world, the Greg Scarpas of the world from Brooklyn, all these guys, Whitey Bulger from my area up in Boston. What happened? Everybody thought they were violent. They were crazy. Of course they were, because they were informants. They could do whatever they wanted and the government let them get away with it. And that's why they were so crazy. Greg Scarpa killed almost 80, 90 guys that they know of, 80 or 90 guys, and they still left them on the street. Whitey Bulger killed women. He killed women. He killed a lot of people, and they let him stay on the streets. It's just a crazy world we live in. And so if you have any questions, ask me. I'm just giving you a little synopsis of basically my little stupid story, and we can go wherever you want to go.
I just want to follow up with some of that too, because this whole conspiracy thing in the RICO Act, it brings so many innocent Italians and family members into it that are not guilty, and I've seen that firsthand with the pizza connection. My father was allegedly accused of things, and not, even though he was not convicted, there was people that knew him that just because they happened to go in there, they tied something else. They pulled him over a speeding ticket, or they pulled him over something stupid. And then all of a sudden they have all these charges, and these guys are actually innocent people. Like, these are good people, and they end up, there. So I do want to say that, and like you said, that some of these older guys that were in the life, they're very kind-hearted people, and the media makes them out to be monsters. That is not true. The media turns them into these villains, and it sells these stories that are inaccurate. You could go to an old neighborhood back even in the 80s, and these old Italian guys that ran the social clubs, or whatever you want to call it, their neighborhoods were clean.
100%.
Old ladies could walk past 2 a.m. and nothing would happen to them, and then all of a sudden they start putting all these guys away, and these neighborhoods went downhill. I mean, you've seen that a ton of times in New York, Chicago, what happened in these neighborhoods. So I just want to reiterate and point on that. And as far as, another thing too, with these channels that these informants, I know that there's a lot of people that unfortunately look up to Sammy. And if you look at Sammy's history, even at one time, the FBI didn't think he was a credible enough witness. They labeled him a pathological liar. He killed his own brother-in-law to steal his business, and he killed his best friend to steal his business. I think Louis Melito.
And if you don't know this, he killed a 16-year-old kid that wasn't involved with organized crime or nothing. And anybody can look this up. The kid's name was Alan Kaiser. 16 years old, walking down the street in New York with his friend, coming home from somewhere, school or something. Sammy shot him in the back with a shotgun. This is public. And so you don't hear Sammy talking about that. You don't hear him talking about a 16-year-old kid, because I'm friends with Alan Kaiser, the 16-year-old kid who died, sister, Joy Faraci is his sister. And a lot of people are going to start exposing that. Sammy don't want to talk about that, because Sammy wants to tell you about all his craziness he did and how he was a real gangster. Real gangster don't kill 16-year-old kid for no reason, or for any reason. It don't matter if there's a reason, they're going to do that. And you had made a good point earlier about neighborhoods being safe. Let me ask you a question. John Gotti's family, I'm friends with John Jr., his son and his other son and his sister, Angel. And they're from Howard Beach, Queens, okay? And ask anybody, any of the old timers, when John Gotti was alive, ask them if Howard Beach was safer then or safer now. So when they put him out as a villain and all this, bottom line is, like you said before, older women can walk around the streets. There was no drug dealers on the street, like doing that kind of stuff. And not in the neighborhood, not in the neighborhood. And that goes for like our area, the south end of Springfield, Mass, north end of Boston, Providence, Federal Hill, any of the location where these Italians are. Back in the day when it was real, it's a joke now. But when it was real, like you said, older ladies could walk around. You weren't the drug guys on the street. There wasn't the gangs going by with the machine guns shooting up the whole neighborhood and killing kids in the park. It's happening everywhere in the whole country now. And it's just disgusting. It's disgusting. So, so like I said, to go on a little further, so I had my 2 daughters. I got 2 daughters. Come the end of the month, I'll have 5 grandchildren. I have 3 now. I got twins coming anytime now.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm blessed with that. My 2 daughters, and their whole life, I'm not going to lie to you, I didn't make the good decisions. I was always a great father, and I always had the kids, and but they saw a lot as kids growing up in a house. FBI was there all the time. State police search warrant the house. They destroy everything, pull all their toys out on the floor. It's not a good. It wasn't a good look to have little kids, but it is what it is. I wasn't dealing drugs. I wasn't hurting anybody. It was just, I was booking. And as we know, it's all legal now. It's all legal. So like the government, like I had brought up before about the government being the real organized crime. Sports bookmaking was illegal. I went to jail for it. A lot of people went to jail for it. The government makes it legal. It's legal. Marijuana. There's still guys in jail for it. Many people got in trouble for it. It's legal now. Loan sharking. Okay. Banks ain't loan sharks. Don't pay your mortgage for 3 or 4 months and see if you can get a letter pretty soon saying your house is going to be gone. Okay, you're going to wish that if it was an organized crime guy, you could sit down and talk to him and figure something out. The banks, they'll take your house. See you later. It's such a double standard. It's disgusting. Giuliani, he makes the RICO law. He's a big part of creating the RICO law. They indict him for RICO. I mean. Come on, it's such a flip-flop society, and like I said, loyal. And this was a good point somebody brought up to me the other day. I was talking to somebody. They said, I was talking to him like I'm talking to you guys, and I just said I don't understand it. How people can go on these informant shows and love them. I mean, I think it's 2 reasons, in my opinion, and the guy agreed with me. If you're not a loyal person, well, then you're not going to know why a real loyal person gets mad at people like this. Okay, that's number 1. And the other reason is, I don't know. I don't even get it. It's just like I said, if you're not loyal, you don't understand it. Oh, here's the other thing. I'm sorry, I forgot. The other thing is, if it doesn't directly, like Carlo, it affected your family. You've seen what they did to your father. You've seen at the wake, your father's wake, when they were there. So it directly affected your family. Now, if God forbid, thank God he didn't, but say your father would have got picked up in a case and didn't beat it, and he got life in prison, it affects you, your mother, your siblings, whoever. So I think the regular people that go in these people's chats and that, it didn't affect them like Joy Faraci. It affected her. Sammy the Bull killed her 16-year-old brother. That affects the whole family. Her mother wasn't at peace even when she passed away last year because her son was murdered. Right. And so I think the people don't realize if it doesn't directly affect them, they think it's no big deal. But don't they think in their head of all the damage these people have done, right, that boy, this must really affected their kids because it ain't. You gotta understand something. It's not us that suffer. Like if I go to jail, I don't suffer. I get into a routine. I bust chops with the guys. I work out. Lost 150 pounds in a year in jail. I came out, I look like a movie star, right? Matter of fact, the case I got in trouble for in 2019, you'll laugh because in court 2 years ago, I was telling my lawyer, give me a year. I'll go do it right now. I'll go lose 100 pounds right now. Get me the year. And the lawyer's laughing at me. He says, no, it don't work like that. Because they ended up giving me house arrest because of COVID, because I was only facing like 15 months at this last case. And I did 4 months in prison. So I had 4 months thing. So the judge said with COVID, plus I got that military illness I told you I was retired for. So my lawyer worked it out where I got a 12 months house arrest, which I just got off last April, be a year this April, last April. So it's just like I said, and now I'm at an age, I'm 56. I just turned 56 years old. I mean, I know there's a lot of 20-year-olds running around with aspirations and thinking they're going to be something, but I know in my area it's over. But like I said, I'm not from New York. I know a lot of people in New York, but I'm sure the older time guys are still out there and they're doing their thing. But it's mostly legal now. It's mostly legal. They got property and legal restaurants and legal bars, and it's going legal. They got all stuff like in the community, like dumpster business, trash. It's all becoming legal. All food services, food companies. Whatever. So it's becoming legal now. But any young kid nowadays, and don't get me wrong, in my day, all the way up to probably 40 years old, I loved it. That was my life. I loved it. I would have sworn by it. I even said, and people think I'm nuts, I said on other interviews, if back when I was 22, 23, if somebody would have said to me, we're going to put you in Harvard and you can have a free education and get out and make $200,000-300,000 a year with no headaches, I would have said, no, I'm all set. I'm happy on the street. That's the mentality. You understand? But then as you get older, like I said, you start seeing things. And then, as you know, when you start having kids, now you're not living for you anymore. You're living for them. And, Christmas time, my daughter's coming to see me in prison. And it was nice visiting them. But it's just, you should be home drinking eggnog and hot chocolate with your kids watching the Disney movie, Christmas movie. They shouldn't be up in USP Kane and getting searched, so they can come in the visiting room, and I just think we got to. I mean, are there some people that belong in prison? Absolutely, I get it. I mean, I wish nobody goes to prison, but yeah, there are people. And another thing that really bothers me, and it's all out there. They'll give a bookmaker 4 years, 6, 7 years. Maybe if you slap a guy to get money, they're going to give you 8 years. But the pedophiles out there, 2 years, 3 years, they get out, they get to go into some fake bullshit rehab for child molesters and for people like that. They get out. They don't stop. You can go on. Very, very seldom do they stop. They might change up their game a little bit or get smarter, but there's not too many of them. If that's in you, changing. You understand? Them are the guys that should be getting to 30, 40 years in prison, and because. But a sports bookmaker with an Italian last name will get 4, 3, 5, 10 years like water, and it's just I can't see it. I mean, you hurt a kid. I mean, that should be the end of it, or an elderly person or a handicapped person. This is going on every day, every single day. But if you got the Italian last name and you hang around with a bunch of neighborhood guys, and maybe in a time when you shouldn't have been, you're taking some sports bets. Oh, you're a gangster, and they make some bullshit title up for you, and it's just disgusting. So when all this starts happening, you got to tell yourself, if you're sharp, I'm all set. Let me just go live a nice life. I'm doing good things. And when you align yourself around a good attitude and good people, a lot of things change in your life. I don't know how. I'm not an actor, but a few years ago, I got involved with the movie business. I got a movie coming out, real movie. Leonardo DiCaprio is the production house, Appian Way, he owns. He's James Matteo, big star out of New York, was in the Bronx Tale. I mean, a lot of the Bronx Tale guys were in it, but James Matteo was in Hook with Robin Williams, The Basketball Diaries. He Band of Brothers on HBO. He's one of the main characters. Great actor. He's the lead. It's about Willie Pep, the professional fighter out of Hartford, Connecticut. 200, I believe, 229 professional fights. Lightweight, a featherweight. The movie's called The Featherweight. A week from last night, next Friday in Hartford, we do the red carpet event. All the stars will be there.
Nice.
Yeah, I got a talking role in it, and I'm in the movie. I don't know how. It was funny how that took place. So from that, like you've seen, Carlo, I'm doing some bigger interviews, which is great, you know, and I'm not going on like these other people. I'm a big shot. I was involved with people. I don't go on for that. I tell my stupid little story, and I go on to give my message, which, you know, that was my life. I know it was a stupid little life, but I did it. And I went and did my time. You know, I got done and I did all my prison time I had to do every time I had to go, for whether it was 4 months or 2 years or a year and a half, whatever it was, I did it. And I knew enough. I was maybe smart enough, lucky enough, I don't know, that I never got wrapped up in a big 20-year case. And it could have happened. Believe me, it could have happened very easily. I was very lucky. And but like I said, when all these things start changing, it's like your mind starts waking up to things and saying, wow, this, you know, it was great. I had a lot of laughs. I met a lot of people. I'm still very close with some active guys on the street. And I just said, I wish you the best. I love you guys. You want to go have coffee, bust chops, go eat dinner some night, I'm there. But anything else, God bless, I'm good. I'm going to do my little movie thing. And they understand it. They're like, bro, we get it. You know, listen, good luck. We're cheering for you. They get it because they know too. They know too. It's pretty much over. So so that's pretty much it. And like I said, the featherweight, it'll be coming out. You can look for it. It's supposed to be in the movie theaters, probably by next month. I mean, the American premiere we went to about 2 months ago in Woodstock, New York. They had the premiere there, but the red carpet event with the cameras and you dress up is next Friday. So I'm looking forward to that, and it's positive, and my kids are happy, and you know, my girl's happy. I mean, I'm just trying to do the right thing now. You know, it's nice to be at my place and you know, with my girl, we eat dinner, we maybe go out somewhere, and I don't have to worry about coming home and the FBI sitting in front of my house. I don't have to worry about 4 a.m. They knock the door off and come in with, you know, and then just when I thought I was out of the woods, December 19th, December 5th, 2019, I shared a 3-family house with my nephew. We had a house together, and just happened to be home. I was up at 4:30 in the morning watching the news. Don't ask me why. And I ended up finding myself involved in the biggest indictment on East Coast history. They broke the door off, threw flash bombs through the house. They were coming to serve a warrant for my nephew. And my nephew allegedly, and I haven't spoken to him in a while, but I think he's still in jail. But they allegedly had my Italian nephew, 40 years old, is the head of the Latin King and Queen Nation from Boston to Miami, Florida, the whole East Coast. And it was, you can look it up. It was back in 2019, December. It was called Operation Thrown Down. And they picked up 64 members, alleged members, and me. And I had nothing to do with it. They proved that. But what happened was when they did the search warrant of our house, my room was last. And they took him right out. The FBI took him right out. And they did a search warrant. They found a .357 Smith & Wesson gun on my nightstand behind a fan. So they had to arrest me for being a felon in possession. And I didn't know at the time, but Smith & Wesson factory is in Springfield, Massachusetts. I don't know if you knew that or not, but that's where Smith & Wesson is. And federal law, I didn't know. My lawyer told me. So I figured, okay, well, I screwed up. I'm going to go do 4 years for a felon with a gun. But I guess feds, they only could charge you with the ammunition, not the gun, because it was a Smith & Wesson. And if the feds cannot prove that gun left state lines, you know what I mean? So in other words, if it was a factory was in New Jersey, they could say, well, the factory's in New Jersey, so it had to leave state lines. How to get to Massachusetts? You would have got charged with the gun and the bullets. But because Smith & Wesson is in Springfield, Massachusetts, they couldn't charge me with the gun. They could charge me with ammunition. And there was it wasn't a stolen gun, or it was a legitimate gun. I just shouldn't have had it. But the bullets they charged me with. So for just bullets with no violence and nothing, it's 15 to 16 months in prison. That's what they wanted to give me. And like I said, I did 4 or 5 months where they revoked my bail, and there was some kind of things where I ended up doing 4 or 5 months of, I had that on my record time. And when I came up to court, my lawyer went with hey, he was in the military, he got hurt. COVID was running rampant a couple of years ago, still in the prisons. And they ended up, the judge said, I'll give him, I think it was 12 or 13 months home confinement. So like I said, I just got off it last April. And it was funny because I got off in April, and like a week after I got off it, I was in Hartford shooting a movie, The Featherweight. So it was crazy. I was like, imagine this, last week I was in home confinement. This week I'm shooting a movie with all stars. It was crazy. So, so that's pretty much it. Like I said, I'm looking forward to the movie coming out, and and staying out of trouble. And listen, I'll be the first. I root for the bank robber to get away. If there's a movie and somebody's trying to get away with a score, I'm saying turn this way, go that way, get away, get away. I still root for I root for the bad guy to get away. But at this age and how nobody's embarrassed to be an informant, they get out of prison for doing a couple of years after doing murders, go open a YouTube channel, and everything's wonderful. It's not something I want to be around. So, like I said, I did what I did. I'm proud of what I did my whole life. It is what it is. But I know at the end of the day, I'm a man, and just through the grace of God, I didn't have to fight a case when I was facing 30 or 20 years or 15 years, because if I would have got guilty, wouldn't be talking to you right now. I'd be locked up, and that's the way I would have played it. But so at this point, I'm just blessed to be in a good space and alive, and I got great healthy kids, great healthy grandchildren. I got 2 great son-in-laws. I couldn't ask God to give me better son-in-laws. And I got a great girl. So at this point, I'm good. I'm just like, I'm blessed to be alive, and I'm blessed to, just keeping straight every day and doing the right thing,
Very cool. I was going to point out that I think, you said Leo DiCaprio's company was, one of the companies behind the Feather.
Appian Way. Yeah. He's behind the whole thing. Appian Way.
Yeah. He seems to be drawn to stuff like that, because I believe he was also behind the Whitey Bulger biopic that they did a few years ago as well.
Right.
So
and I didn't tell you this, and it's just, you'll think it's crazy. The kid we hung around with all our teenage years and through our 20s and into our 30s was a kid named Freddie Giaz, Geas, Freddie Giaz. He lived in West Springfield, Mass. He hung around with us. He was part of my friend who became the boss's crew. And he was a good friend of mine, and we did things together. He was a good kid. I like him and his brother. Well, Freddie Giaz is on trial right now. He got an informant in my area, my childhood friend who became an informant. That was the boss. They orchestrated my guy Bruno's murder, and then the boss of the family at the time became an informant and turned in everybody that was with him. So the point I'm trying to make is, the kid that was in his crew that he turned in, that him and his brother got a double life, got life in prison, is the kid who allegedly he's on trial now, but he allegedly killed Whitey Bulger in prison. Freddie Giaz, that was our friend.
Oh, wow.
He was in the hole for 4 or 5 years in Hazleton, West Virginia, and they just moved him to ADX in Colorado. His lawyer, the kid who allegedly murdered Whitey Bulger, his lawyer and my lawyer, the same lawyer, Dan Hagen. And so it's just a small world. It gets smaller and smaller,
Yeah. And I was also going to point out that, I'm interested in that whole thing. I read a lot of books and stuff on it and watch the movies, but I never romanticized it. Like, I would never go to Sammy the Bull's channel and give the guy money because I'm not going to believe anything he says.
Exactly.
2, the guy's a scumbag. Okay, I mean,
100%
around it.
Come on.
And so I don't understand how people can be. I can be interested in it, but I shouldn't romanticize that life. I shouldn't go.
Right.
Gee, but for me, if I couldn't, no, I'm sorry. It's not in me. Or to listen, like I said, to listen to them tell those stories, you have to, what's real and what's not, because like the stories you told, you made very clear. I've already been convicted of this stuff. So I can talk about this because they can't go back to the tree for me. This is done. So
I mean, and it's easy. I'll be honest with you guys, and you're in the podcast business. It's easy for these guys to go on these shows, and there's a lot of fake guys out there. It's easy to go on the show, and people don't know me. I mean, you guys really don't. I mean, you can Google me and see a lot of things, but you don't personally know me. So I could come on here and bull crap you guys and say, oh, I was a tough guy and I split this guy's head. Like 90% of these informants do. They have shows and they say that, or any of them. But they both, they tell these crazy stories. They romance the life. I don't do that. I'm the first one to tell you, I'm not a tough guy. I was just a bookmaker. I mean, my whole life. I mean, my friends on here, they would tell you. During one time, they ever called me and said, "We got to go do something. Come with us." But okay, pick me up, or I'll pick you up. It was never. But that wasn't a tough guy. That was being loyal. That was being honorable to my friends. Right. That wasn't being a tough guy. And I was always the guy that would orchestrate with my friends maybe beating up a bully or abusing a bully. You know, in high school, I'd see them pick on these less fortunate kids, maybe kids with autism or kids who maybe didn't have it all together. You know, some kids are a little off. And I would see these bullies picking on them in gym class, pushing them. And I was the guy. I'm not trying to, you know, cheer myself, but it's the truth. I would be around people that would, you know, athletic kids, whoever it was a gang of us that we weren't into that. You don't abuse a kid who's less fortunate. You don't abuse maybe a kid who's timid, who just wants to carry his big book bag, you know, and it used to really get me wired that you would see these kids bothering them and pushing them, and they thought who they were, you know, and then you grab the kid alone in the bathroom and say, come here, you know, maybe do a little something to the kid and say, that's how you feel. Does it feel good to do that? Is that what you want to, you know, so I was that kind of kid. And I'm not saying that's, you know, that was me. And that was several of my friends that were around me. But yeah, so that's all. Like I said, I'm just telling my stupid little story. And I mean, I don't know. People must be interested. I just did a show 3 months ago in Brooklyn, New York. It's camp. Nice kid, Mark Cagnan. He got a huge show. And I just checked yesterday just for Haas, and it's got, in 3 months, it's got 1.4 million views.
And that's
crazy.
I
You
will
know,
say that's impressive for a long form video too.
3 months. And you know what the video, you know what the time of the video is? 4.5 hours.
Wow.
That's the video. If anybody, you can check it out. It's Camp Gagnon, it's called. Yeah. And I did the kid, another big one was Johnny Mitchell. That's doing good. So some of the bigger shows are seeing the response by people, which I'm blessed. I mean, it's funny. I laugh at myself and I laugh at my girl and I say, I can't believe people are interested in my stupid stories, you know? But I think certain people that watch these shows, they know real, and they know people who want to glamorize it and pretend there was somebody they were not. You know what I mean? Just tell your stupid little story. And if they like it, they like it. If they don't, they don't. Don't.
Yeah.
Like I said, I could come on here and say, I did this and I cracked this one. And it's bullshit. You know, why would I do that?
No, well, I like the fact that you're coming on here saying, yeah, I was a bookmaker, but you said, you know, you went down for non-violent charges.
Yeah.
So you didn't sit there and, you know, I broke this guy's legs when he didn't pay up, you know.
Yeah.
Not trying to, you know.
And let me tell you something. From my experience, that's another fallacy. Bullshit.
Yeah,
when you hear these guys come on, Sammy the Bull's the best at it. I cracked this one. There's a couple other ones out there I don't want to mention. I don't want to give them no validity. But I cracked him with a bat and I made him go to the bathroom in his pants, all this stuff. Listen to me. Let me tell you something. People could say whatever they want. If say you're a bookmaker and somebody owes you money, you're not breaking their arm. You're not cracking them. You're going to sit down with them and you're going to figure out the best way that's not going to cause any headache. Okay, you owe me this amount. Don't bet no more. What can you give me a week? You owe me 5,000. Can you give me 200 a week? Can you give me 100 a week? Yes. No problem. Just pay every week. Don't worry about it. You're gonna do it that way. You're not gonna beat a kid up and not get no money, and then he goes to the feds. Now it's called extortion. You're not doing 2 years or 1 year or 4 years. You're doing 5. Or you slap a guy. That owes you money. Yeah. You're doing 5 years for a slap. Never mind if you break their arm or whatever. It's all bullshit. They want to tell these fantastic stories. Come on, it's ridiculous.
And a guy who can't work or whatever can't pay you back. So that
100%
no good, you know.
And like, you know, the most violent guys in that life were informants.
Yes.
Greg Scarpa, violent. Everybody was petrified of him. He was crazy. Killed 80, 90 people. The government used him to kill. Went to Mississippi, paid him to go to Mississippi and find him 3 guys that remember the Ku Klux Klan in Mississippi in the 60s, kidnapped them 3 kids, the reporters. And they killed him. Greg Scarpa went there and grabbed the guy. The government paid him, like I'm not giving secrets. It's in YouTube. It's all over. It's all out there. Yeah. They paid him like, I want to say 80, 100,000 to go out there and find the Ku Klux Klan guy that knew where them 3 kids were. He went, tortured the guy from what they say. And the guy told him where they were. 2 days later, it was all over the news. They found the 3 kids that them Ku Klux Klan guys killed. So Whitey Bulger, violent. Killed women, crazy. What was he? 30 years an informant. Yep. So when guys are out there splitting people's heads and acting crazy and running around killing people, very good chance they're an informant and they got a license to do what they want.
Just like
these are facts.
Whitey was, quote, hiding in plain sight. It's like they knew exactly where he was.
Come on.
Okay? They could have taken him anytime.
Yeah. There's some things I want to touch on that you talked about too, is that some of the toughest guys in that life were the people that would have done these things that Sammy claims, you know, or that Michael Francis claims, right? They would even, the real guys wouldn't be talking about the way they are. You know what I
Of
mean?
course
Like,
not. Of course not.
you know, as we talked before the show, allegedly my father was accused of things in the life, and
Right.
he was harassed his whole life. But I'll tell you something. My dad was the type of guy that would sit in the pizza places. He always faced the door, toothpick in his mouth, newspaper, and he never yelled at anybody, never screamed at nobody. He was always quiet, reserved. People would come in, they would talk to him, and it never got to a point where it was like yelling or a violent interaction, or even if allegedly people owed my dad money, he'd be like, forget about it, don't worry about it. You
And
know,
let me
there
tell
were
you
times,
something. Never mind being a gentleman, but that's if you know this life at all, them are the guys you got to fear. In other words, guys like your father who were gentlemen and help people, and if you owe me, do what you can do. That, even though he's a gentleman and he's doing all the right thing, but if anything really went down, them are the guys you got to fear, not the crazy loudmouths that come in screaming and throwing a glass and making a scene. Them you got to worry about. You got to worry about the quiet ones. Like, let me give you a little on a bigger scale. Carlo Gambino looked like a little old grandfather. You seen him, you didn't think nothing of it. Notorious guy. Okay, there's guys out. You know, there was that's them are the guys you got to worry about. Like I said, the guy who was in MCC Manhattan with Vinny Basciano, gentleman of a guy. I'm telling you, what an impression he made on me. Right? Not according to me, because I didn't know him that way, because I wasn't from New York. I didn't even know who he was until I met him. And then I found out years later through social media. I said, oh my God, I was with Vinny and the Albanian guys. According to the YouTube and things, they were real guys in the street, serious guys with power. In jail, most gentlemen guys I ever met in my life. I didn't even care about if they could have been bankers. It wouldn't have mattered to me. I didn't need that organized crime alleged title. Gentlemen, straight out gentlemen. That's the truth.
And one thing that my dad brought me up to really live by is honor, loyalty, and respect. No
100%.
matter who it is, just honor your friends, respect your friends, be loyal to your friends, and hope that it's the same back. And if your friends ever get out of line with you, just walk away. You don't need to show yourself. You don't need to prove yourself.
No.
You don't have to prove anything to anybody. And that was my dad's kind of message to me growing up. So I learned a lot just from watching him. And, you know, I'm going to be honest with you, and this is the first time I'm ever disclosing this, but there were times that his friends liked me so much that they wanted me in the life. And I just said no, because I knew it wasn't for me. I knew if push came to shove, I couldn't be that guy to go around and do what somebody might tell me to do.
Right.
It wasn't me.
Right. And that's honorable. That's more honorable than if you would have stepped up to them and said, yeah, let's do it. I'll do everything. And then I'm just making up a scenario. And then you get pinched and you become an informant. You were more honorable in the beginning, saying, hey, listen, thank you. And I believe, just by talking to you several times, I believe you're like me. We still wish for the bad guy to get away. But like you said, it's not for you. And that's honorable, rather than these other guys. Yeah, it's for me. I'm a gangster. All these words they want to use, these bullshit words. And then when the rubber meets the road and the jail cell gets ready to get clicked, call the feds. I want to talk. You know, you're that's an honorable way of thinking, the way you just thought. You know,
but that shows why the loudmouths are the ones that tend to roll over, because
100%.
They have to act like they're the big bully, but when it comes down to it, they'll be the first ones to turn on you and go
100%.
There's something that I want to say, because you also touched on this, and we talked a little bit about Michael Francis. And you know, at first, people that come and look at the guy, they might think he's clean cut. They might think, oh wow, you know, this guy did so much, years so much, blah blah blah. You know, and these are people that romanticize the life, right? They don't know the life exactly. But then you hear Michael Francis' own words where he says, oh, I wasn't a rat. I was an informant. I just cooperated one time. Well, listen, you cooperate once. You're an informant. You broke your oath. Doesn't matter what you cooperated for. You broke your oath. And technically he is an informant because of that. And then
bottom line is he put people in jail. He put people in jail. He can say all he wants. He didn't. He put people in jail. Whether it was 1, 2, or a half of one, it don't matter. You still put somebody in jail.
Yeah.
Bottom line.
He admitted that he testified against his old partner, and he's like, "Oh, he wasn't even Italian or whatever." Come
it doesn't
on,
matter.
Man.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't, and I get so upset because people come to me and they say, "Carlo, what do you think about these channels?" And I got to be honest with them. I say, you know what? Listen, I don't like these guys, and this is why I don't like them, because they're not genuine. And when I talk to someone like you who is genuine, I could tell, because you don't have to think about what you're going to say. The stories flow.
I just talk like we're sitting around at a restaurant, me, you, and Paul, just chopping it up, eating. I don't have to write nothing down. That's like people said when I did a couple of the other interviews, are like 3.5, 4-hour interview. You got to write down a sheet. What are you going to say? I said, I didn't say nothing. We're going to sit and talk like we're in my living room busting chops on a Sunday afternoon. And I always do that.
Yeah.
You could know, other than talking for me and you and Paul for like 4 minutes before this interview, I didn't say, you said to me, is there anything you want me to ask you? I said, hey, I'm an open book. Just talk. I mean, did I say that or not? I don't have nothing to practice for.
You did.
It's the people that are bullshitters and the people that are people that want to raise their who they were. Them are the people that got to think about what to say and write stuff down, because it's a bullshit. If you're telling the truth, you don't got to think of nothing. You just talk.
Yeah, the real guys don't need a showboat.
No.
And the people that you see most of the people you see on YouTube today are showboaters. They're
100%.
They're making a lot of the stuff up and adding to what they initially did, and it's a shame because it just romanticizes the life in the wrong way, and then people start to think, well, okay, this is a great financial life I can get into, and if I get in trouble, I'd just be like these guys and just become an informant. It's right. It's just, you can't. No, you can't. It's disgusting. Don't. That's one thing I want to. Everybody that ever talks to me, I tell them, don't follow those guys because not the truth.
And I really don't understand how somebody like, say, Sammy again, how he can do those shows and make money off of. He's making money off. He's admitting that he did crimes. He's making money, and they're not supposed to be able to do that. I mean,
he wrote a book. He wrote a book that he said he was never going to write, and he made money on that. The families of the victims, the 19 people he murdered, their families should get any money he makes from YouTube, his personal life, or books, or anytime he brings up their family story. That's when they should get the money. Bottom line.
So he's making bank, and that's why I think that's why part of the reason it gets romanticized. Well, look at Sammy,
Yeah.
Really, Sammy should be Sammy should be done. I mean, he should have been done a long time ago, really.
Right.
And the fact that he's being allowed to do what he does is just,
And there are guys, there are very few. Actually, the one I like, and I talked to him privately, and he's a nice guy from what I know of him, is you got some real guys out there doing podcasts, like they were real guys back in the day. Now they're retired, but Joey Merlino, he's got the Skinny podcast. It's huge. He just went on Patreon because YouTube banned him just for swearing. So he made a good point the other day. I was watching his show on Patreon, and him and his partner said, these guys are telling how they killed 19 people, batted them, shot them, chopped them up. They don't get banned. He swore a few times, and they banned him for swearing. But like he said, and it's 100% right if you think about it. You can go on YouTube and watch ISIS chop off a person's head. You can watch somebody kill a dog. You can watch pornography. Okay, but if somebody swears a couple times, you shadow ban them and you ban them from getting money. What is it called? Where they take your credentials away, so you can't.
They demonetize you.
Demonetize you. He only did like 12 episodes, and they demonetized him. So, and I can't blame him. He said it's not about the money. It's about I want to say what I'm going to say in my own way to say it. And if that means I got to go to Patreon, and he ended up this week was his first show on Patreon. And he's got a valid point. And people in the comments and a lot of the shows I do say, well, you talk about this and that, which if you hear the way I talk on any of the shows, I never glamorize that. I never say I was anything other than what I was. But they're like, you're not supposed to talk about that. You should keep quiet. First of all, I'm only telling my stupid story and my like I said, the story on MC Man with Vinny Basciano. Right. Them are real stories. That I was around the guy. He's a gentleman. So I'm only telling my experiences and my stupid stories. I never took an oath, thank God.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm just telling, my whole message is not, oh, that life is great and blah, blah, blah. Did I have fun in that life? Did I have a lot of money and go everywhere on vacation? Yes, I did. I'm not going to lie. Did I drive the best cars? Yes. But that's not my point of being here. Story till tomorrow, 2:00. The story is, you can step back and say, that was a little crazy early in life. We're going to do different things and you move on. And that's the story. You can move on in a clear head. And like I said, I can't emphasize it enough, without becoming an informant, without facing 30 years. You know, a lot of people can change after they do 20 years in prison. A lot of people can pretend they change when they can't go back on the street because they become informants and they're not welcome back in their own neighborhoods. But I'm talking about a person that, you know, maybe if I did some things different, I could have went to that next level. And I just think through the grace of God, it was a blessing that I never got that far, because then it's a little harder to, you know, just to step back, you know?
Absolutely.
And that's pretty much my message, you know?
Things out there are so different nowadays. You have many different gangs running wild, young kids out there, and they're just trigger happy. I mean, it's no more fist fights. It's no more sitting down to talk things out. They're just they get insulted. Their pride gets in the way, and it's just trigger happy.
And you know what's crazy? You know what's crazy is look at social media. Not only are they doing these crazy things in the hoods and in these neighborhoods, they're putting it on social media. The FBI and the feds and the organized crime, the state police, they don't even have to follow you no more. All they got to do is find out your Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all these accounts people get. All they got to do is they can watch you from their office. You're saving the federal government money. They don't have to follow, like the old days when the feds used to have the cameras following you around. They don't have to do that no more. They go on your social media. They film themselves beating up somebody. All the feds do is screen record. They got it. They don't have to be hiding at 3 a.m. taking a video of you. So with social media today, as we know, and I don't mean to cut you off, as we know, every street corner is a camera. Everybody's got them Ring cameras in their house. Everybody got a cell phone. Whoever's doing illegal things today have to have their head examined. Examined with the cameras, and every street corner got cameras. If you go to a red light, click, it gets your plate. Ring camera. Go walk up on any house. 98% of the houses in America, or probably anywhere else, you go up to that house, as soon as you cross the threshold, click, 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 it starts recording. So, you know,
you and I are the same age, and I saw a meme the other day that I shared. It said, the 80s, lots of memories, no evidence. You know, it's like,
exactly. Exactly.
You know, something I want to ask you about, because I think a lot of people don't know this, but obviously movies have romanticized even the prison life, right?
Of course.
So there's different prisons. Obviously, there's county prison, which allegedly is pretty bad to be in. You can't trust a lot of people. Then there's different types of federal prisons. Some are cakewalk, and others are just like maximum headaches. So from your experience in your life through all the different prisons you've been in, what was your experience in prisons like?
Well, federal. Now there's a difference. Federal. You got federal compounds like USP Canaan, New Jersey, Fort Dix. There's a lot of them like that. All throughout. I think Pennsylvania itself's got like 12, 11 or 12, maybe even 13 now, federal prisons. So they got a lot. And New Jersey's got a few. You got New York's got a few, Raybrook and them. But in places I've been, there's a compound, and then you got a federal detention center like MCC Manhattan, MBC Brooklyn. And I was in, when I got caught in that case in 2019, they put me in right outside Providence, Rhode Island. It was called Wyatt Federal Detention. The federal detention centers are awful, because people are waiting. They're fighting their cases. You can't have a job. You literally sit around all day in the unit. You don't do nothing. They really don't let you work out. You're just sitting all day, and it's all people fighting their cases before they're waiting to get sentenced or fighting their cases. And when they get sentenced, then after a month or two after their sentence, they go to they'll end up going to a federal compound. So the detention centers are horrible. All young kids, a lot of gang members, just awful. County joints, I never was in a county joint because all my cases were federal, and the county cases I did pick up, it wasn't jail time. I'd go there like overnight, wait till bail and get out. So I really never had to staying in a county joint, maybe overnight, but no big deal. But when I went to USP and it was a heavy hitter joint. At one point when I was behind the wall, I was only behind the wall a few months. They called it gladiator school. They were killing guards. You can go back and I got to USP in 2006. They had just opened it, I think, in like 2000. It was only 6-7 years old when I got there, and it was this heavy hitter joint. Murders. They were killing pedophiles, They were killing the guards. They were killing other. It was bad, and like I said, I don't even know what. Maybe they didn't have room for me at the camp at that time, but I wasn't there long. But then they moved me to the camp. But either place, I just got into my own rhythm. I got in with, like I said, and I try to tell people this and they don't understand it. Some people do, but when you got that title of alleged organized crime and you're Italian and you run with the Italians, you get treated a lot different in prison than you do if you're just this regular white guy from Ohio that's in there for drug sales or whatever. You know what I mean? They treat the organized crime guys a lot different. And I can remember a lot of the African-American gang members, I used to bust them. And they'd say, "You Italian?" I'd say, "No, I'm white." And I busted them because I knew what they would say. And they say, "You ain't white, you Italian." Like even the gang members, the Bloods, and we had Bloods and Crips, we had Latin Kings in there. They treat Italians differently. They do. It's just the way it is. And we ate better. I used to have connections in the kitchen, getting better food. Don't get me wrong, you had to pay them. You would pay them through their commissary, but we had ways to get things. And the Italians and what happens is, like, I come from New England, so they call it the New England car. You got the Boston guys, Springfield guys, Providence guys, Hartford, Connecticut. It's called the New England car. So a lot of federal prisons, and anybody in federal prisons that's listening to this will know what I'm saying. They stick together. You got the New York car, guys from New York, New Jersey, they got their own car. But the New England car is a serious car. A lot of the bank robbers from Charlestown, they made that movie, what was the movie with Ben Affleck about the bank robbers? The Town. Remember that movie, The Town?
Oh, yeah.
Great movie.
Great movie.
That tells the whole thing. Charlestown got a ton of Irish. At one time, Charlestown, Mass., a little town outside Boston, right next to Boston. I think at one time, maybe still, they were the armored car and bank robbery capital of the world. Little town. So a lot of them guys are in there that've been in there forever because they came from Charlestown, they came from South Boston, and I'll tell you, the Irish guys from that area are tough guys. They don't play around. They're serious guys, and they always got along with the Italians. The Italians and the Irish guys always kind of stuck together. They liked each other. So but like I said, I didn't do 10 years. I didn't do 7 years. So maybe there's people that did that much time seen other experiences, but my experience, I got into a workout routine. Like I told you, I lost a lot of weight. And I just, you keep to yourself. You got maybe 6-7 friends you're around every day. You walk, you exercise with them, you eat with them, you sit at a table with them, and you just mind your business, and you got to respect people. I mean, I had Muslims around me. I had Crip gang members, Bloods. You respect them, they respect you. You don't get involved in any of the horse shit that goes on, the gambling inside, the drug. I never was into drugs, take them or selling them. But if you start getting involved with all that shit in prison where you're getting drugs from people, tell them you're going to pay them, you don't pay them, you're gambling with people you can't pay, you're going to have a problem. So if you just stay away from all that stuff and just get in your own little routine of working out and minding your business, and you got to have respect. I mean, if somebody's walking towards you, you could step out of the way and say, "Excuse me," be a gentleman. And I don't know, people tell you a million horror stories. I never had a problem. It's funny because me and my girl talk about it once in a while about prison. And she says, the way you make it sound, I like to go do time just to get away and have 3 meals. And I said, well, let's not go that far. But the point I'm trying to make is,
Carlo, I've said the same thing.
Yeah.
3 hots and a cot doesn't sound too bad all the time,
Yeah, I read books, work out. You have no stress. But I'm just saying, so in my small time, few times I was in, I had no problem. It was. I want to say I got healthy, so I really made it a win-win. Mm-hmm. And I got healthy. I came out, I looked so good. Like I said, then when you're out in the street, you start eating, the food's better, people are cooking for you. I was telling you earlier, I don't know if I said on air, I'd like to go do a year right now. Let them go put me in for a year. I'll come out like a movie star.
Yeah.
But
another thing I wanted to ask you is that I've seen different prisoners come out of prison, and this is just a curiosity question, but now they have these little handheld electronic game systems. Did they give them to you in federal prison?
No, when I was in, they didn't have that. Now they got the tablets, I guess, the last few years. They got tablets. You can get movies. You can get games. You could do email to your people, right? For,
Oh wow.
they sell tablets now for a couple $100. I know people that got them. In 2019, when I was in the detention center in Providence, Wyatt, they just started having them. I wasn't there for them, but it was only like 3 or 4 months they came after I left. You could buy a tablet and have it right in your cell, do emails, watch movies. You would have to, out of your commissary, pay for all this stuff, listen to music. So, I mean, it's a whole nother ball game now as far as what's going on.
Now I
All the-
really do think I might do well. No, I'm kidding.
And just to circle back on some of the stuff you said is, I also think that John Gotti Sr. got an unfair rap from the press, and I think he got an unfair rap from law enforcement. One of the things that my dad's generation, they weren't necessarily fans of Gotti, right? But
Right,
I
of
will tell
course.
you this. But when growing up, I really liked Gotti, and I used to talk to my dad about it all the time. That because it was the fact that Gotti was very charismatic and he cared for his neighborhood. I mean, he used to throw block parties for his neighborhood, and the homeless people were invited to come eat.
Of course.
And everybody just had a good time. And you don't see that anymore, man.
No, there's a video out there of him getting in a car after court with his brother Peter, and he gives a homeless guy $100 or $50 bill. It's all over the internet. You can see it, because the guy said, he opened the door for him to get in his car, and John gave him or his brother gave him a $50 bill. John said, give him some money. So listen, the reason the government hated John Gotti so much was very simple. He didn't care what you thought of him. He was who he was. He was proud of being a street guy. He didn't care what anybody thought about him. He was going to be him. He was going to dress flashy. He was going to have a nice hairdo all the time. He was going to be proud of who he was. And the government wasn't going to make him shame from that. And that's why they hated him, because he was too out there, And unfortunately, it's too bad. And I know that the old school gangsters that are quiet didn't like that. But it is what it is. He was, and say what you want about the guy. He took, quadruple life sentences and went to prison like a man, and he died a miserable death in prison of throat and mouth cancer. Never said a word. And like I said, one of his sons I know, both of his sons I know, John Jr. and Peter. And Peter was telling me a story that he used to go visit his father. He got an apartment somewhere where he was. I think it was Springfield, Illinois, or Springfield, Missouri, wherever it was. Peter, I think it was Illinois. Peter got an apartment to be with his father's last days. And the father was in so much pain. John Gotti Sr. was in so much pain that the nurse came into the cell when they let him visit his father. They had his father handcuffed with cancer, couldn't even get up to a cot, so he couldn't even get up. And they wanted to give him pain medicine, some kind of liquid morphine or something. And Peter said, Dad, you're in bad pain, take it. And he like went with his hand like this, get away from me, to the nurse. And he told Peter, no pain medicine, truth serum. So even with days left and agonizing pain, he still wouldn't take pain medication, because he thought they were trying to, put something in it to like truth serum, like then they could question him and he wouldn't be in his right mind. So people could say what they want. Was he flashy? Yes. All the, whatever. Was he on the Time magazine? Yes. Maybe People? Yes. Maybe he shouldn't have been, or whatever. But he didn't put himself there. They put him on there. But the bottom line is, say what you want about the guy. When he went out, he was the last of the real Mohegans. He went out like a real guy. And people could say what they want, but they could never take that from him. He was a real guy right to the day he took his last breath.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of people in our audience that watch these different shows, and I want to get your opinion on it.
Yeah.
I know my opinion. I didn't like the show Getting Gotti on Netflix. I didn't like it.
Terrible.
The one
terrible
that I liked
terrible
most was the Armando Asante one.
Gotti in 1990 or 89, whenever that was, 100%. And no, the Getting Gotti, that one was told by a federal government point of view. They had people on the show that didn't even know him. That woman they had on the show saying she was part of the Gambino crew. She was some wise guy that had nothing to do with John Gotti's family. She was some wise guy's gumad, girlfriend. That's all she was. Never talked to John Gotti. John Gotti never made her think she was part of the. Come on, it's laughable that these people would even let this woman on telling her story. I mean, tell the true story. You were a gumad, and maybe you danced sexy with your boyfriend a couple of times. Not that you were part of the Gambino crime family. It's absolutely laughable, but it's sad because the regular Joe Schmo person, believe it.
Yes.
I mean, they have another guy out there. There's several guys out there that could tell you John Gotti stories. They were with him. They did this for him. Never met him in his life. His daughter told me, Angel Gotti, told me straight out. They never met my father ever. Never met him. Never even said hi to him. Never was in his presence. But they're telling these fabulous stories about they were partying with him and he was drinking with them. It's absolutely crazy.
Yep.
And people believe it. So that's it. But like I said, the new day and age, people, I mean, it's too bad because a lot of the kids today don't have father figures. That doesn't help much. And, I just think we're in trouble. This country's in trouble. We're in trouble, and it's worse and worse. The prison system is ridiculous. How many millions of people we got in prison in America? I think it's the most in the whole world. And we just keep building more and more federal prisons all over the country. Like I said, there's like 13 just in Pennsylvania. Federal prisons, 12 or 13, just in Pennsylvania. Big federal prisons.
It's become a big money racket for lobbyists and the privatization of some of these prisons.
Right.
It's insane.
And then the people doing crime, like what's his name, Biden's son, right? They're getting I'm not bringing up politics. I'm just telling you, Biden's son. Come on, anybody in their right mind? If I did what Biden's son did, or you guys did, we'd all be going to jail. He gets a pardon, or he gets where you don't have to do a day. Come on, it's a joke. It's a joke. But that's neither here or there.
Paul, did you have any questions that you want to?
I did. Now I got to.
Yeah, it's all right. We could do this again too if something comes up. We could do this again.
No, I'm finding it. Like I said, I'm finding it very interesting because, like I said, I don't know how much I've read some of the books on Gotti. I've read and even the matinee side. The Godfather is one of my favorite movies.
Of course, great movie.
It's not real. I know it's not real, but still,
right.
It's and whenever the stuff is on the History Channel about the five families and all that stuff, I watch all that stuff.
Oh yeah, people are very interested in it.
Yeah, and I know a lot of it is made up for the show, and it's not necessarily 100% correct, but it's still interesting to me.
Of course.
That,
and as you know, I'm sorry, as you know, organized crime is the best in Hollywood. I don't want to say presented, but it's the best. Hollywood makes it out to be wonderful. It's the best. They make it so lovely, like Goodfellas. You've seen when Joe Pesci walks in and thinks he's getting made, and they shoot him in the head. But most of the show is all fun and girls, and they're driving fancy cars. But you don't see the part when your best friend walks you into a room and you don't come out. They don't show that too much. They did in Goodfellas, but a lot of the movies they don't. So I mean, they glamorize it is what they do, Hollywood, because like the Irishman, good movie, but all fake, not one thing real in the whole movie.
Right.
All bullshit. Sheridan, that guy Frank Sheeran made himself like he killed Hoffa. He did this. He didn't do nothing. The real guys that were in that life that were around then say it right on the internet. This guy's a nut. Yeah. He's a nut.
Yep. And things like a Bronx Tale and things like that.
Right. Great movies. Very very Casino. Very interesting.
Yeah. Good stories, but but you have to, like you said, do a little bit of looking around to see what was real and what wasn't.
100%.
And like I said, in my mind, never romanticize it, because in the end, you got Joe Pesci getting his brains blown out.
So, exactly.
And they do try to make a point that there's a lot of them will say there's only one way out of this, and that way or two ways, and neither one of them is good. It's look
at Casino. How did Joe Pesci and his brother end up in that? You couldn't die a worse death than that. In the cornfields, in the dirt,
Yeah.
And even if I would have grown up in those like I said, I was on the West Coast, and we didn't get but because I'm disabled, I wouldn't have been exposed to much of that probably anyway.
Right. I got you.
But yeah, my online name is Carlo got rid of it before you got here. It's Cerebral Paul. I have Cerebral Paul.
Oh, okay. Cerebral Paul. That's funny though. It's not funny, but that's a catchy. It's
that's
catchy.
His nickname too. Yeah, that's like his nickname.
Cerebral Paul. That's catchy.
Yeah, it works out well because my real first name is Paul. So there you
Yeah,
go.
yeah.
But yeah, so
But
I find talking to you very interesting, and
thank you,
yeah, it's
thank you.
something
Same here.
that if we're ever in the same area, I could definitely find myself sitting around the table with you eating.
Oh,
hearing-
yeah, absolutely.
yeah,
But yeah, well, like, so basically that's my message. We all do. Everybody that's going to listen to this has crazy stories if they told
Right.
them. But we all have our crazy stories in our life, and at the end of the day, like I said, it's you learn and you live and you move on and you do positive
Right.
things. And like I said, change is possible. I'm a very I'm a perfect example of that, and I just want to continue doing good and keep a right attitude and keep my head straight. And I mean, I'm learning. The sky's the limit between the movie and other good things I got coming and going to be coming in the future. So that's pretty much it. I would want to thank you guys for having me.
Yeah,
Thank you for having me. And
absolutely,
you are proof that you can come out and you can change,
absolutely,
because a lot of them don't. They can't. They come out and they just go back to the old ways.
100%.
The government gives them a free ride, says here's a new identity, here's a new you, and they turn around and do the same old stuff.
Here's a mansion, here's a 200,000 a year job that you don't even have to work. Yeah, that's what they get.
Yeah,
they get
it's crazy.
Yeah.
And then
Chicky, right when we end this, I'm just gonna ask you to hang around for a second.
Yeah, no problem.
Oh, and
but thank you to
I'm sorry.
Thank you to the people that are going to watch this. We're just telling, like I said, I'm just telling my little story, and I hope you like it. And like I said, if you guys want to have me back down the road, maybe get some other questions, or you want to do a live, whatever you want to do, I'm up for you guys. You guys are gentlemen, and like I said, I appreciate you having me on. I'm humbled by coming on.
Absolutely. Well, we thank you for coming on and sharing your
stories.
And you are proof that you can come out and do good things and be a family man and go for success. And I'm cheering your movie on. When it comes out, I'm going to tell everybody about it. I hope everybody watches that movie because Chicky's in it and he's a good guy. So yeah, thank you, and just hang on for a moment, and
I will. Thank you again.
Don't end it yet. We have that one last question we have to ask.
Oh, the icebreaker question.
It's not the icebreaker at the beginning. This is not an icebreaker. This is just
Paul's favorite question.
We ask everybody this question at the end of all the interviews. This decides where it's going to go. So pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No, not me personally. No.
Yes, that's the correct answer. That is the right answer.
Me personally, no.
I don't think we've had one Italian come on here and say
yes. No, not me. And I did. I ain't gonna lie to you. I did try it. It's not for me.
Yeah,
not for me. But
yeah, that's
so
just
that's
a fun
it.
little question we ask. Yeah,
right. That's fun. Yeah. But thank you again, gentlemen.
Absolutely.
Okay.